Alright guys, what's up? New video today. We are doing Gaia the Fierce Knight. Now, just to preface this, we are doing the Gaia the Fierce Knight deck. This is the deck that all came together in Rise of the Duelists, the Yu-Gi-Oh set that basically put Gaia the Dragon Champion, Gaia cards all together into one singular Gaia deck. Not just a deck that is
support for Blacklisted Soldier.
Exactly. Not just support for Blacklisted Soldier, but its own deck. This is basically the deck we're doing today. If you have any ideas whatsoever, if we forgot a card or something like that, if you have an idea for a future tier list, let us know in the comment section below, and then we'll try to get around to it. We have a lot of things that on our list here, but we're going to try to do as many as possible. We will eventually get around to all of your suggestions. It'll just take a unreasonable amount of time. But if you enjoy the series, subscribe, like, all that great stuff. 87% of you are not subscribed, but let's get right into the video. Enough commercials. Right off the bat, we have Gaia, the Dragon Champion. This card is,
I'd say F tier.
Yeah. It's actually not good in the deck whatsoever. It has very specific fusion requirements, which are Gaia the Fierce Knight and Curse of Dragon. You play neither of those cards in this deck, and your cards count as Gaia the Fierce Knight monsters, but they do not count as Gaia the Fierce Knight. So you can't.
And the fusions also count as Gaia the Dragon Champion already, and they have effects that are just actually really good, and this has no effect, so it's actually completely like null and void.
There's no reason to run this card like that, and I can think of there's no reason to. Next was Gaia the Magical Knight.
Which one is that? Because they actually have very similar artworks. They're all like kind of yellow.
No, that's Gaia. Yeah, the Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons. This card's A tier. It's very good. A tier. Might move it up to S as we kind of think about it later on. But this card's very, very good. Basically, you can reduce its attack by 2600 and then pop a card on the field. That seems like a weird effect, but it's actually not a weird effect, because the fusion spell gives it 5200 attack, and then
not gives it 52, it makes it become 52,
or makes it become
it gains 26.
It makes it become 52. In addition to that, one of these monsters, the little one, the level 4, I forget, is the Origin. It's the Origin Knight.
Right there.
Yeah, Origin Knight. You can banish this out of the graveyard and then make a monster make its original attack, make its attack go back to its original attack. So that means that even if this card comes out at 2600 and you reduce it by 2600, making it 0, you can pop a card, then you can use Origin Knight to just bring it back to the 2600 all over again anyway.
And through its own effect, it actually gains 2600 when it destroys a monster by battle, and because of the fusion spell, it can actually attack all monsters twice.
Yeah.
So it's 52, it can attack twice, and it's just a great time.
Yeah. This card's an extremely good card in the deck.
And it's generic. Generic in the deck. It doesn't need the specific Gaia the Fierce Knight and the Curse of Dragon. It's any level 5 dragon monster and any Gaia the Fierce Knight monster.
Yeah. It's a very good card.
Actually, now that we've talked about it, I think it should be an S tier.
An S tier?
Yeah, we just there's just so many good points about it.
Yeah, I was gonna save it for like fusion spells and like the field spell, but yeah, it's actually, this is your win condition, so you're probably the best card one of the better cards in the deck.
He's really cool because not only is he like your boss monster in your win condition, he also helps progress you forward.
Yeah.
By just gaining attack and popping stuff. He's really cool that way.
You got to give me the name of the next one, because this next one is actually. You can see the artwork here. This one is actually not even available in the TCG yet. Right now, it's only in Japan. Who knows when we're going to get it, but I might as well review it.
And the name's not set in stone yet.
Yeah, the name might change when it comes out legally in the TCG, but it's definitely an S tier. Go ahead. What's the name?
Curse of Dragon, the Magical Dragon Knight.
Yes, but its effects are very, very good. Basically, what this card is it's so many positive things. So this card, all it requires to summon itself is it's a fusion of a warrior monster and a level 5 or higher dragon monster. Your regular stuff already does that. Like you can already summon this card easily within the deck. But outside of that, you can also use Super Poly to summon this thing. If your opponent is playing some kind of a deck like that, if they're playing dragons or warriors, you can Super Poly, or if they're playing both, it's even better. But in addition to that, you can also instant fusion this card, because it's only a level 5 monster. But its effects are extremely, extremely good. Basically, when this card is summoned, you can fusion summoned. which, again, Instant Fusion, Super Poly, and Spiral Fusion are all fusion summons. They do still count as fusion summons, all of them. If you summon them through those means, you can return a Speller Trap card in your graveyard that specifically lists Gaia the Dragon. Was it Gaia the Dragon Champion?
Yep.
In its text. So basically, you can activate Spiral Fusion, fuse a Gaia monster and a dragon in your graveyard to summon this thing out, and then you can activate this card's effect to add back that Spiral Fusion again. And then its other amazing effect is that you can, if you were to fusion summon a
level 7 dragon.
Yeah, level 7 dragon, with which all of your fusions are level 7 dragons. If you were to fusion summon a level 7 dragon, you can banish materials from the graveyard instead. So you can activate that spiral fusion that you just added.
Because it's not once per turn either.
Yeah, it's not once per turn, and then fusion summon again, banishing materials. So it basically gives you like an in-archetype Dragon's Mirror. Which is really, really good. In the end, you basically get this monster for free because you're just going to recur the resources and then summon another copy of this.
And they both gain 2,600 attack. They can both make 2 attacks on monsters.
Yeah, it's extremely, extremely good in the deck. It actually helps OTK within the deck, because the problem with this deck is sometimes you wouldn't have enough damage on board, and that would really, really be like a bit of a scary thing, not having enough damage on board, because you would end up... you'd get to you'd do I don't know, 65 damage or something like that, and then you just run out of gas. It'd go to your opponent's turn, they'd pop your monsters, and this deck has not a great deal of grind game. It's an OTK deck. It's a one-trick pony. It's an OTK deck. If you can't OTK, then you're probably going to lose, and this really does help the deck significantly. Next, you got to give me this name too.
These strange names.
Yeah, some of these.
This one's the worst one.
Yeah.
Though. Gaia Drake, the Universal Force. If you put money on it, you wouldn't guess that name.
Yeah, this card is absolutely terrible too. It's another F tier. Basically, this is a fusion of the Gaia Synchro Monster, which is also an F tier. It's a fusion summon of the Gaia fusion, of the Gaia Synchro Monster, and another Synchro Monster
with no effect.
Yeah, with no effect. So another non-effect Synchro Monster, like
itself, like the Synchro Monster.
Like
itself.
the Synchro Monster, like this thing basically. Like 2 of these basically can make it. And then its only effect is that it cannot be targeted or destroyed by monster effects. And that's it. It has a decent amount of attack, but that's about it. The only reason we even put it in here is because Gaia in the name. But you wouldn't want to run this in a Gaia deck. The Gaia deck doesn't even have tuners. So I don't even know how you would summon this in the first place. And then on top of that, even if you did summon it, why would you want to summon this? I don't know. Gaia Charger...
Oh, and to make him even worse, he's actually a beast warrior, not even a warrior.
Oh, he's not even a warrior, so that makes it 10 times worse. And he's not a dragon, so he's not like a dragon champion. Next is Charging Gaia, the XYZ monster.
Yeah. Gaia Dragon, the Thunder Charger.
The Thunder Charger. This card is actually good in other decks, but it's actually not that great in this deck. You don't want to give up 2 level 7s to make this thing. It is counterproductive, because all this basically does is piercing. It's good. Like, this card has definitely seen its use in the metagame, but it's just not that great in this particular deck. This card's not that great, too. It's Gaia in name only. It's basically Gaia the Saber...
Gaia Saber, the Lightning Shadow.
Yeah, insane name. Better name than it is a card. Basically, it's just 3 Link monsters. It's a Gaia monster.
No, not 3.
I mean, sorry, Link 3, it's 3 just monsters, right?
Yeah, well, 2 plus.
Yeah, so you can usually use tokens. It has no effect whatsoever. Usually, they use Gaia cards to introduce new mechanics, and for some reason, it's always Gaia. I don't know why. This is...
Oh, yeah, and the Synchro is also... I mean, not the Synchro. The Link is actually a machine, so it's like...
Oh, another mess, yeah.
No hope to use it.
Dude? This guy's a warrior, at least.
Yeah, he's got something going.
Wait, he's a machine for real?
Yeah.
He's not even a Cybers?
No.
Well, I don't even know what to say. All right, this is Blacklisted Soldier. Remember, we're doing this in the context of the Gaia deck, so how good would this card be in the Gaia deck? And the answer is probably not that great, because the Gaia deck just does not ritual summon on its own. Now, obviously, if you wanted to blend the 2 decks together, this card would be half decent, but we're just talking about fusion summoning and summoning the Gaia, summoning the Gaia fusion monsters, OTKing our opponent, relying on things, like the Catapult Artillery Turtle, stuff like that. So yeah, this is where it would be, right here.
The only thing he has to do with I almost said Blacklisted Soldier. He has a lot to do with that. The only thing he has to do with Gaia the Fierce Knight is that if he gets destroyed by your opponent's battle or card effect, well, obviously not battle is not relevant because we can't summon him because it's ritual, but if he gets destroyed by card effect somehow from your hand or deck, you can float into a Gaia monster from your, I think it was hand deck or graveyard.
Yeah.
And that can be pretty cool because you can summon out hand deck or graveyard. You can summon out any one of the crane ones,
like Magical Knight or something like that.
Yeah.
Like in theory, it's good, but then you'd have to include a whole
specific
ritual engine, which wouldn't be too good. Next is Polar Knight and Midnight Knight. These two are, again, kind of weird. I'd say C tier for both of them. They're just kind of they let you. Their main effect is that they let you tribute another.
I think Midnight. Did you put Midnight over the other one? I think Midnight's just better.
Which one's? This one's dark. Yeah, Midnight is dark.
No, Polar Knight's the dark one.
Oh, so that Midnight you want. The light one is higher.
Yeah, because what Polar Knight does is you can tribute one other dark monster and then add a level 4 light warrior, which is the only level 4 light warrior that's really good I can think of is Dawn Knight, but he's just not as good because what Midnight does, you tribute another light monster and you can add a level 4 dark warrior, and so you have the crazy boys like Armageddon Knight and Dark Grepher, and even though you probably committed your normal summon to this, Dark Grepher can special summon itself. So it's just a little bit better in that way. Well, you wouldn't really run these either way, because I think the actual good black Gaia monsters, I think they're all Earth. I'm not sure.
Most of them are Earth. It's not good in the actual pure Gaia deck. It's better again in the Blacklisted Soldier deck.
Mm-hmm.
Next is Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight. This one's another D tier card. Basically, if this card is this is the card that Yugi used after Battle City. But basically, this card, if it's the only card in your hand, you can normal summon it without tributing. That's just not really all that great because you can just use some of the other cards, to be honest with you. Some of the other ones, all they require your opponent to have is just more monsters, and then they can normal summon themselves, which is significantly better than this. I'm sorry, than this. You don't have to be down to your final resource.
Mm-hmm.
Next is
Sky Galloping.
Sky Galloping. This guy's A tier. I like him a lot. He's another one that I go into often. Basically, when you fusion summon him, he searches a copy of Spiral Spear Strike, which is one of my favorite cards ever. But basically, yes, he searches that for free, and then also he has an effect where if he declares an attack, you can change the battle position of the monster that you attack, which can help with Spiral Spear Strike, basically. It facilitates the next effect.
One of my favorite things about the Gaia Fusion, since we went over them all, is that every time they make a new Gaia Fusion, they'll make new Gaia and Curse of Dragon monsters, and then the new fusion is always that one, the new Gaia monster riding on the new dragon, which is actually really cool. It's actually a really interesting piece of art.
Yeah.
For the deck.
Next is Curse of Dragon. This is another F tier. You could technically run this for your level 5. The next one is Arisen. You could technically run this as your level 5, but I don't know why you would want to, because this one has no effect and the other level 5s actually have an effect
that are really good.
Yeah, unless there was a rescue rabbit for level 5 dragons, which there isn't. I don't see a reason why you'd want to run this. Technically you can search it off of Summoner's Arc, which I guess would make it somewhat okay. I guess we could move this one up to D tier instead. Technically you can search it off of Summoner's Arc. But again, it has no effect, whereas the other Curse of Dragon allows you to search Spiral Fusion. So I don't know why you'd want to run
And the other one lets you fusion summon, and those two are also searchable.
Yeah.
By
the field spell.
Yeah. So it's
and Magical Knight. Mm-hmm. Well, summonable by Magical Knight.
And the next one was Arisen, right?
Yeah, Arisen's a little bit of a mess.
Yeah. If your opponent controls more monsters, you can normal summon it without tributing. That's it's a
pretty
little
standard one.
Yeah. They
a few monsters do that.
Summoning, yeah. And then it basically just has a ritual effect. If it's tributed, you can summon a Blacklisted Soldier monster, and if it's in your graveyard, you can use it as tribute for a Blacklisted Soldier ritual.
Yeah.
You wouldn't run it in Gaia, but it's still like an option because it's level 7 Gaia and all that nonsense, so we get to include them.
It is still like a free normal summon.
Mm-hmm.
It does waste your normal summon, unlike some of the other ones that special summon themselves, but I'd say it's half decent. Next is Gaia. I think this is Soldier.
Soldier Gaia, the Fierce Knight.
He's weird a little bit. He's a level 8. He's actually B tier. He's actually kind of good. So he has an effect where, quick effect, you can tribute a fusion monster.
Fusion dragon.
A fusion dragon on your side. And it's pretty generic to any fusion dragon. So you could tribute like even other decks. You could tribute like a Blue Eyes fusion dragon, or like a Dark Magician, the Dragon Knight, if you wanted to. Like it's kind of generic. And then you could special summon this card, and it's during the battle phase. Or so it's a quick effect, right? So at any time, yeah, you can tribute it, and then special summon this thing out, and then you can basically
switch an attack position monster to defense. Yeah,
switch an attack position to monster to defense. That can help other things, like help you do piercing and stuff. But basically, this thing allows itself to special summon itself out and help you sometimes end games. Also, it has an effect where you can tribute itself and then search a level, was a 7 or higher warrior monster from your deck, which is, again, really generic. Like, there's a lot of things that this card can search. This is probably one of the more generic cards in the deck. Like, if there was another deck that relied on a fusion dragon and warriors, this card would be, like, perfect in that deck. It doesn't even have to be in this deck to be really good. Plus, it's a level 8. It's a little bit odd, too. It's different from all the levels. But it's definitely a very good card. It can help you close off games, so I like it quite a bit. All right. Next is Gaia.
Gaia the Magical Knight.
Next is Gaia the Magical Knight. This card also counts as a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster. Basically, what this is your best normal summon in the deck. If your opponent controls a monster that's 2,300 attack or more,
or if you have no monsters,
or if you control no monsters, which is pretty good, you can normal summon this card without tributing, which is good because it's a level 7. But basically, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can special summon a Curse of Dragon or a level 5 dragon.
Very generic.
Yeah, a level 5 dragon from your graveyard or from your hand, but specifically a level 5 dragon. But that effect may not seem like a lot. It's actually quite a bit because it helps you set up for the Curse of Dragon. It helps you set up for that card very, very significantly. And if that card is normal or special summon, you get to search. So basically, you summon this, you summon that, then you get to search, and that basically sets up for a copy of Spiral Fusion, which is very important. But definitely one of the better main deck monsters. Next is, what is this, Envoy of Chaos?
Yeah. If a Blacklisted Soldier, not important, or a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster you control attacks, or it does battle or whatever, you can discard him, and then that guy gains 1,500 attack, which is pretty decent. And then during the end phase, you can banish Light in the Dark and add him back to your hand, which is like, you get a little bit of extra attack every single turn, so they might forget, and they might attack into it, and you can use it again, which is really cool. Like, I don't think you'd necessarily run him, because you already have stuff to gain attack for your main man, the main fusion.
Yep.
So he's not really that necessary, but he's a decent option if you want to consider it.
Yep. Next is the Gaia the Fierce Knight Origin monster.
It's the first one you got right.
Yep. All of these guys have similar names. I mix them all up, but I know what they all do. But basically, what this card does is it can be treated as 2 tributes for a Gaia the Fierce for a warrior monster, which honestly almost never comes up unless this card somehow stays on the field for a turn, in which case then it does come up, but usually it doesn't come up. But this card has an effect where you can discard a level 5 or higher monster and then special summon this from your hand. Super generic. That could literally be used in decks that aren't even like this deck. Like, you could use that in an Orcus deck by discarding like a bigger monster, for example.
Orcus Nightmare, I think it was. Yeah. It's like level 7.
You can just basically use it in any deck that has big monsters that you want to get into the graveyard. Like, it's super generic. But in this deck, it's actually very good because you can discard like the Curse of Dragon, for example. And then you could special summon this card. Also, this has an effect where it can banish itself from the graveyard, and then it can restore one of your Gaia monsters back to its original attack.
Or if they have something that gains attack, like if they're playing like Grand Maju, Eater of Millions, nonsense like that, or like a Boral, sword or load, and they gain attack, then you can banish this from the graveyard and then like revert its attack right back. So if they gain or if you lose, then you can moderate it however you want.
Yep. And that can activate during the battle phase, which is most important. It's a quick effect, which is very important. Next is the Cursive Dragon.
The Cursed Dragon.
The Cursed Dragon.
This
is another good card.
I think it's the only like good monster that has an uncreative name.
Yeah.
Everyone else has such a cool name, but then
he's definitely an A tier.
Yeah.
Somewhere at the top of A tier. Basically, if he's normal or special summon, and he's very, very searchable, very easy to summon. Basically, if he's normal or special summoned, you can search a card that has Gaia the Dragon
Champion.
Dragon Champion in its text, which mostly is going to be the Spiral Fusion or the Spiral Spear Strike, although there's other ways to search that, or you can search any of the new traps if you wanted to. But basically, you can search any one of those cards. It's very, very good for that. It's very good to get to your fusion. Like, that's the main reason you want to play this card.
And not only that, but when he's sent to the graveyard, you can target your Gaia the Dragon Champion, and then you basically skill drain every one of your opponent's monsters that has attack less than it, and we can use the Spiral thing, the Spiral Fusion, so they can be at 52, so they're not going to have anything bigger than 52, so everything they have is just going to be negated until the end of the turn.
It basically forces a negate. Like, it forces your opponent to have to negate this with one of their face-up monsters, because if they don't, it's basically all of their monster effects are all gone anyway. But it's very good for both of those effects. This is regular Gaia the Fierce Knight, F tier. You don't use it in the deck. It's a normal monster. Again, the only reason you would want to play this is if you had, like, Summoner's Arc to search it and then use it for Spiral Fusion. But again, why you would want to do that, I don't know. Next is Cursive Dragon
Fire.
What was it called?
Cursive Dragon Fire.
Cursive Dragon Fire.
That's actually one of my favorite artworks.
Yeah, this artwork's cool. Like, he's like red, angry. He's blowing up a field spell in the picture. He's actually pretty cool. Like, he has an effect where as soon as he's summoned, he can destroy a field spell on the field. Also, he has another effect which he basically becomes a polymerization and a monster material for yourself, which is you can fuse a fusion monster using himself as material. So basically, it's just an alternative way to summon the Gaia the Dragon Champion monsters, like the Magical one and the Galloping Knight. It's just basically an alternative way to do it.
The only rough way about it is that it has to be monsters you control, which has to be on the field, right?
Yeah.
That's the only rough thing about it.
Yeah, but I mean, honestly, most of the time the deck will actually just use the Spiral Fusion anyway, so you really don't need to run this card. The only reason you would want to run this card is if you wanted to ensure that you always had a level 5 dragon in your kind of like starting hand. Which the field spell already does a half decent job of doing that. But if the field spell gets ashed, sometimes you want to be able to just have that level 5 dragon in your hand, so that can come in handy. Next is what is this? Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight. This is another one of these like
normal summon without tribute.
Yeah, normal summon without tributing. This guy's next to Arisen. You can normal summon him. He becomes 19 when he comes out, and then if he's tributed, he has an additional effect, which is
to add a Blacklisted Soldier monster from your deck to your hand.
Yeah, which is Blacklisted Soldier, meaning any Blacklisted Soldier, including Envoy of the Beginning, which could help in the Blacklisted Soldier deck. But in this deck, you play a lot of Earths. You don't play a lot of Lights and Darks. You mostly play Earths. So it can sort of be unnecessary, I'd have to say. And also, you're not going to be able to tribute it because, again, you don't really tribute in this deck. You fuse in this deck. So it's not particularly good. But if you are playing the what is it called? The Blacklisted Soldier Ritual deck, this card is probably a very good card for you. Next is Blue. Blue Skilled Magician.
This is another one of those weird magician cards. I don't know why they still make stuff like this. They're never good. They're never like they do the same thing with like dragons. They have like the paladins.
Yeah.
But those are a little bit better in some cases. But this one's like not that good. You just remove 3 counters. Like every time you activate a spell, you put a counter on it. You can remove 3, and then summon a Gaia monster from your hand deck or graveyard. This one has a cool second effect, which is like you can banish it from the graveyard and then put a spell counter on a card that holds a spell counter. But the only card within this archetype that would fit that need is Gateway of Chaos. But Gateway of Chaos, I believe, puts spell counters on itself.
Yep.
So it's like it's not even that useful. And you have to banish this from the graveyard, so you have to get it in the graveyard. It's a spellcaster. It's level 4. It's level 4. It's just not gonna work.
Like, for it to even be useful, you have to open up this card and then 3, and then you have to open up 3 spells, which is a lot of spells. It's like if you open up 2 spells in this card, it's dead. And going second, you need every single card to be live and every single card to be usable, because you're usually going to use your whole hand to OTK your opponent. You can't afford garbage and dead cards. So this card is just out the window. Next is
Lord Gaia
the Fierce Knight. This is another one of the ones that can summon itself if your opponent controls more. Is it special summon or normal summon?
This one's actually special summon.
Oh yeah, this one's actually pretty good. I actually do play this one. Yeah, if your opponent controls more monsters, you can special summon this, and you actually get to save your normal summon for the magical knight, which is very important. Also has an effect where if your opponent summons during their turn, basically if your opponent summons, you gain 700 attack. It's not a relevant effect because most of the time you'll fuse the thing away anyway. But there are universes where that effect comes up, although not this one. Catapult Turtle has no real use in the deck whatsoever. I mean, technically Catapult Turtle is a part of the Gaia lore because Yugi used it to launch at Panic's
the castle. I forgot the name of the castle.
Yeah.
The dark castle with like the weird attack points.
Yeah.
And then the guy pierced the ring with his javelin.
There was a lot going on.
It was a really cool thing.
It was a cool episode. He used Catapult Turtle to launch Gaia the Fierce Knight. A lot of stuff happened. So it's technically a part of the lore. But the original Catapult Turtle actually has no use whatsoever in this deck. It's definitely an F tier. It's a completely off typing. It's a level 5 monster.
Water machine.
Yeah, water machine. It's just totally
aqua water. Still bad.
The typing is just completely not relevant to the deck. It would actually be cool if they made a fusion monster between the Catapult Turtle and the Gaia the Fierce Knight, or at least something like a water machine or something like that. That would actually be pretty cool if it was a Gaia the Fierce Knight and a water machine. That would be a pretty cool fusion. But as of right now, that doesn't exist. Next is Artillery Turtle. What is the full name of this one? Because I always forget the names. Artillery Turtle is definitely a good card. I'd say bottom of A tier. This is one of your better. Actually, I'd probably put it up here. This is one of your better card starters. I don't remember the full exact effect, but basically what it gets to do is you can tribute this monster, or you can tribute a monster.
Yeah.
So not even itself, but in the Gaia the Fierce Knight, you will be tributing itself because
he does nothing when it comes to fusions and whatnot.
He does nothing. On board, you don't want to leave him on board unless you get some kind of like a Nibiru token or something like that. Or you have something useless on your board that you really don't want, then you can tribute that. But usually you will tribute this thing. But basically, you tribute it, and then you can special summon from your deck a dragon, level 5 dragon monster, and or a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster.
Yeah, from your hand or deck. From
your hand or deck. Usually it's going to be the deck, but if you drew it and you want to get it out of your hand, then you can. But this is actually one of the better starters in the deck because a lot of the monsters have effects on special summon, or a lot of the important ones like Curse of Dragon searches on special summon. The Gaia the Fierce Knight and the Gaia the Fierce Magical Knight basically lets you summon from the graveyard or hand on special summon. So it definitely helps all of those things. Definitely one of the better cards you want to see in your hand. Next is, what is this, like Galloping Gaia? It's the field spell.
Field spell.
Yeah, it's like Galloping Gaia.
Yeah, Galloping Gaia, exactly that.
This card's very good. Basically, the first effect is that your opponent can activate any effects during the battle phase.
If you have Gaia the Dragon Champion.
Yeah, if you have Gaia the Dragon Champion on your side of the field. Which you will, because all of your fusions count as Gaia the Dragon Champion. But the cool thing about this
Except for the level 5. I don't think he does.
Yeah, the level 5 isn't, but he's the
all the level 7 ones do.
Yeah. But basically, the good thing about this card is once you say battle phase and your opponent accepts, that's it. The duel is in your hands. They can't do anything else for the rest of the battle phase. It's actually kind of crazy. Also, if you have a Gaia in your hand, you can reveal it, and then you can search for a level 5 dragon, or you can, if you have a level 5 dragon in your hand, reveal it and then search for a Gaia. Both effects are very good, but they are once per turn, so you can do one or the other. So you can either reveal a Gaia, search a dragon, reveal a dragon, search the Gaia. You can do one or the other, but both effects are extremely good because basically they search out what you don't have, which is important for the deck. They're definitely a very good field spell.
And the no effects in the battle phase is like at first glance, it doesn't sound too crazy, but there's there's just so many monsters that activate effect in the battle phase. There's like people leave things like Link Kuribo, or if you don't finish them off, they'll summon something like a Borreload, a Boral Sword, because your monsters are big. They'll summon like an Avermax, or they even have an Avermax on the field. Like all these things that have like damage stuff, like attack moderation and whatnot, like on their own self, they can't do any of that, which is absolutely crazy. I just want to,
Yep. No, but yeah, it's insane. Next is Spiral Spear Strike. This is a good card too. I'd say this is one of your only ways to gain advantage, but it's only like through attacking. I'd say it's somewhere in B tier. It is very searchable. It's a very good card. Basically what it does is, like high B tier. It's probably around here.
Yeah.
Basically what this card does is if a Gaia the Fierce Knight, or Gaia the Dragon Champion, or Swift Gaia the Fierce Knight declare an attack, they do piercing, which is...
Well, they can switch the monster to attack to defense position.
And then do piercing?
Yeah.
But basically, they can do piercing, and that effect is actually pretty good. But the only one you'll ever be able to use is the Gaia the Dragon Champion, because the fusions count as Gaia the Dragon Champion, whereas the other monsters don't count as Gaia the Fierce Knight in name. But basically, if you do inflict battle damage through the piercing, you can draw 2 cards and discard. That effect is not once per turn.
And it's mandatory.
And don't forget that the... What are they called? The Gaia, the Spiral Fusion allows you to have multiple attacks in addition to the Magical Knight, which also allows you to gain attack, which is going to be very, very good. But you're going to do it multiple times in a turn, especially if you have multiple fusions. If you have if you have 2 fusions, you can actually attack like 4 times, and then every single time draw 2, discard 1, draw 2, discard 1. In the end, you'll do so much like filtration, and your hand will be absolutely amazing. But yeah, it's a very, very good card.
My bad, I made a little mistake. It doesn't switch him to defense. The fusion, the one that searches it out, he's the one that switches it to defense.
Yeah, he switches monsters to defense. Next is Spiral Fusion. This is probably the best card in the deck. It allows everything to even happen because it can fuse a... basically, this is what makes the Gaia the Dragon Champion, or the champion-like monsters like these guys right here. And then if it does summon a Gaia the Dragon Champion, that monster can attack twice on monsters, and it has 5200, it's double the attack, or it gains 2600 basically, and it can attack twice on monsters, which is absolutely disgusting. It's such a good card, honestly.
And it's also a little generic because it's not actually limited to Gaias. It's actually you can actually summon any fusion dragon monster. So if there's some like random weird tech that you found, or like there's just a weird build you have that you mix it with something else, you can use this to summon out anything, really.
Yep. Next is, what is this? Chaos. Gateway to Chaos.
Yeah.
This card's actually pretty good too. I'd say bottom of A tier. Basically, the relevant effect on this card is that on activation, this card allows you to search a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster. That's about it. Everything else on the card is only relevant to a Blacklisted Soldier deck. This is the only effect that is relevant to the Gaia the Fierce Knight deck. Everything else is like counters for Blacklisted Soldier, all types of stuff like that. It never comes up. Yeah, it never comes up. But that first effect is very, very relevant. Next is Spiral Reborn.
That's the one that you summon a level 7 or lower dragon monster.
Yeah.
I'm a little far from the mic. You summon a level 7 or lower dragon monster from your graveyard, and then if you summon Gaia the Dragon Champion, it's protected from card effects. It can't be targeted, and it can't be it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects.
Yep. So it's pretty good. The deck is honestly an OTK deck. You don't want to be playing traps, But if you're playing a trap, you might as well have one that helps you live for a turn so you can destroy your opponent the following turn. It's like a half-decent trap, I'd say. But generally speaking, this is not a trap deck, so you really don't want to be running traps anyway. The next name is...
I believe that's Beginning of the End. No, Beginning of Heaven and Earth. It's a really cool card name.
Yeah.
It makes it sound a lot more intense than it actually is.
This
There's
card
no beginning
is...
or end to the card. It's mainly for the whole, like...
Blacklisted Soldiers more, filling graveyard. But it actually searches, but it searches on a trap card.
And it's
sort random, too.
Yeah, and it sort of searches. That's what's weird about it. You can reveal any... You can reveal 3 warriors, but one of them has to be a Blacklisted Soldier. So it's already looking kind of bad. And one of them has to be Gaia, which is, good for us. And then the third one could be anything. And then they pick it at random. And then if it's Gaia or Blacklisted Soldier, you add it to your hand. But if it chooses the third one, like, if it's not like a Gaia or Blacklisted Soldier, you send them all to the graveyard. Which is like, you don't really want any of them in the graveyard other than the Origin, I think his name was.
Yep.
But even then, like, there's just so much better you can do. Have things that are more impactful for you.
Yep.
So it's just not that good in the deck.
It's just not good in this deck. Like I said, it might be better in the Blacklisted Soldier deck, but in the Gaia, the Fierce Knight deck, this is not the best card.
It is a really nice card, though, like in artwork and every name.
Yep. Next is Spiral Discharge. This card has a very weird effect. I'd say it's somewhere near the... I'd say it's probably right here. It's actually, like... I'm not a huge fan of this card. Basically, if your opponent declares an attack, they can only declare an attack on your Gaia, the Dragon Champion, which is... Basically, they can only attack your fusion. Your other monsters are protected. Most of the time, honestly, you'll only have, like, 2 fusions, so... The monsters you'll attack are the ones that you already have anyway. But also it has an effect where if they're targeted for battle or if they do battle of any kind,
when an attack is declared involving the Dragon Champion.
Yeah, so either they're attacked or they're attacked or they're doing the attacking, you can pop a card on the field, which isn't the worst card, but again, it's a spell card. I mean, it's a trap card, and because of that, it's structurally a bad card because this is an OTK deck. If this is a continuous spell, we can have a conversation about this card being useful, but because it's a trap card, it's actually significantly worse. Like, if this was a continuous spell, it would probably be B tier. It wouldn't be that much better. It would be just like an extra option for you to search off of the Curse of Dragon. It wouldn't be like a broken card, but unfortunately, they put this on a trap card and have forsaken this card entirely to not be used. So that is it. That is the last card. I hope you guys have enjoyed. This is another one that is monstrously recommended to be done. A lot of people wanted the Gaia the Fierce Knight deck. But basically, yes, that's it. If there's anything else you would like to recommend, we do plan on getting around to all of them. As long as you guys just keep spamming what you want in the comment section, we will eventually get around to everything. But that is basically it, and thank you for watching. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this type of content, check out the other videos on the channel, and please subscribe. It helps the channel a lot. Again, thank you so much. Have a terrific day.